More than 93% of people fail to break into cloud careers. And it's not because they weren't smart enough or they didn't work hard enough, but because they followed the exact advice that everyone else is giving. The same advice that keeps people stuck in an endless cycle of preparation without ever actually getting hired. And here is what I've learned. In order to be part of the 7% that actually breaks in and gets the result that you desire, you need to stop following the crowd. I'm Suleiman. I've worked in tech for over a decade, and today I run my own AI cloud security consultancy, and I've helped more than 600 students learn cloud and AI. In this video, I'll reveal the 5 biggest lies that you've been told about cloud careers, and then I'll give you my first principles approach to follow instead. Starting with the lie that's keeping most people trapped in preparation mode forever. Get certified first. So here is what happens. You decide that you want to get into the cloud. You Google how to become a cloud engineer, and what do you see? Certification roadmaps everywhere. Step 1, get your AWS cloud practitioner. Step 2, move to solutions architect associate. Step 3, then go and get your solutions architect professional certification. So what do? You spend months and sometimes even years studying for exams, memorizing services, but there is a problem. The moment that you apply for jobs, hiring managers look at your resume and they ask you, what have you built? A very simple question, but with massive consequences. The thing is, at this point, you have nothing to show them except certificates that prove that you can pass multiple choice questions. A theoretical understanding of the cloud. The truth is, I've interviewed hundreds of candidates over the years, and when I'm hiring, I skip straight past the certification section and go directly to the projects and look at what you've actually built. So, for you, the correct approach is starting with projects first, even if you don't fully understand what you're doing. Because the thing is, when you're building real cloud infrastructure, you will naturally learn the services that you need to know. You'll understand how they work together. You'll develop real problem-solving skills, and you'll quickly gain confidence. So when it comes to an interview, you'll be able to speak about real case studies that you've worked on. And if an employer specifically requires a certification, then you can always get them because they are not useless. My gripe with them is that they hold most people back from ever applying for jobs. And honestly, so many senior architects that I've worked with that don't have a single certification. And yeah, they are doing pretty well. Which brings me to lie number 2. And this one you won't expect. Master one cloud platform. Now, I need to make a super important distinction here, so please listen carefully or you'll miss it. What I'm not talking about here is the advice of mastering AWS or Azure, for example. That is sound advice, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm actually talking about is the consequences of mastering just one cloud platform. Because while it sounds logical, it's actually dangerous. 87% of enterprises are already using multiple cloud providers, which means when you apply for jobs as an AWS engineer, you shouldn't shy away from the roles that ask for Azure or GCP, because companies are looking for engineers who understand cloud principles that work everywhere. And that's the key. Now let me explain. The service names across cloud providers might be different, but fundamentally, they always achieve the same outcome. Sure, some services in Azure are a little bit better than AWS for specific requirements based on the projects and vice versa. But what you specifically can't do is pigeonhole yourself into one cloud provider. Instead, you're going to want to connect the dots and learn how those principles that you've learned with one cloud provider actually apply across all of them. And the pro tip here is, if you're looking to get hired and you only know AWS, you should still apply for roles that require Azure or GCP. And I've seen this work firsthand with my students. Engineers who started with AWS knowledge have also been landing Azure roles within months of understanding these cross-platform principles. In fact, that's one of the strategies that I'll be covering in my free cloud masterclass this Sunday, where I'll be giving away the complete blueprint to becoming a cloud engineer in just 90 days. I'll be giving you the behind the scenes of how I have trained over 600 students and giving away the strategies that I've never shared publicly before. If that's something that you'd find helpful, then click the link below to sign up and I'll see you there. Number 3. Focusing on technical skills. This one sounds a little bit counterintuitive. Everything that you're expected to do is about technical skills. Learn Terraform, master AWS, cloud security. And what happens is naturally that you spend all of this time building technical skills in isolation. But crucially, you are never connecting them to real business problems. Then you wonder why you can't get hired. Employers do not care about services or what tools. In fact, nobody does. In the real world, what matters is that you can explain why you choose one service over another, and tying that back to the business outcome. It's not about knowing what AWS Lambda does, it's about understanding when serverless makes financial sense and when it doesn't. You have to be able to translate business requirements into technical solutions, and when you do this, something profound happens. The actual technical skills become way easier to learn. I know, it sounds crazy, right? But there's something else which prevents talented people from ever attempting to become a cloud engineer, which is number 4, you need a computer science degree. And this one particularly frustrates me because it acts as a barrier for talented people. I can't get into the cloud because I studied marketing. Companies won't hire me because I don't have a technical background. I am too old to start a tech career. I have to go to college first. Some of my most successful students came from completely non-technical backgrounds. Alex was a helicopter pilot with 0 tech experience. Now he's a platform engineer. Silas was working at a charity in his 40s with 3 kids, and now he is a DevOps engineer at one of Portugal's largest energy companies. Jay transitioned from banking to cloud engineering in just a few months. The only thing companies care about today is the skill set that you're able to bring to the table. Put yourself in their shoes and think about it. You want a problem solved, so you're looking for a candidate that you can just pluck out from the list of people and place into a role. And the ones who get hired, they've been acting as a cloud engineer from day one by building hands-on projects. In fact, I've seen computer science graduates struggle to get hired because they've not built anything tangible. The right approach is to ignore the degree requirement because it's not real and focus on building skills and just become better at leveraging your own unique background. It's all about positioning, which brings me to line number 5. Master Kubernetes to stand out. This is where most beginners sabotage themselves. They look at job postings that mention Kubernetes, Docker, GitOps, and think, I need to learn all of this to be competitive. So they jump straight into container orchestration before understanding basic cloud fundamentals or even tech fundamentals. They try to master something incredibly complex by watching a few tutorials. And what happens? They get overwhelmed and confused. At this exact point, many conclude that they can't make their dreams a reality and give up entirely. Now, here is the truth. You've been set up to fail. And up until now, you've been following the wrong playbook. You don't need to master Kubernetes to get a job in 2025. Stick with the core 4 first. Compute, storage, networking, and security. Once you have a solid foundation, more advanced concepts will make sense because you understand what problems that they're trying to solve. And here is the irony. When you understand the fundamentals deeply, you will often realize that simple solutions are way better than complex ones. And that's the mark of a truly skilled cloud engineer, building for today's simplicity, not for tomorrow's potential complexity. And you don't hear any of this anywhere else. Now, we have debunked the 5 biggest lies, and you know exactly what you shouldn't do, and there's actually a much cleaner way to approach this entire learning journey. And it's leveraging my first principles blueprint, an entirely new way of thinking and looking at cloud engineering. And I'm going to give you some of the principles right now. Principle number 1 is start with problems and not technologies. Because most people start by asking, what should I learn? The first principle approach starts by asking, what problems do businesses need to solve? And here is how this changes everything. So instead of memorizing S3 features, you understand how to design reliable data storage strategies for different business requirements. Instead of studying VPC configurations, you learn how to build secure network architectures that support business operations. Do you see the difference? When you start with the problems, the technologies become the tools to solve those problems. When you start with technologies, you're just collecting tools without understanding when or how or why to use them. This approach makes you immediately more valuable to employers because you're thinking like a real consultant. Principle number 2 is to build in public from day 1. And I think this one most people know, but they're too afraid to put themselves out there, or they don't think that there's any benefit to doing this. But here is why it works. Firstly, it forces you to think clearly about what you're building and why. If you can't explain it to others, you don't really understand it yourself. Secondly, it builds your personal brand while you're still learning. More than 90% of recruiters go to LinkedIn when looking for candidates. I am personally getting pitched job opportunities directly from LinkedIn every single day. Thirdly, it creates networking opportunities. When you share your projects publicly, you connect with other engineers, building relationships, and you never know where that can even take you. Principle number 3, systems thinking and not services. The biggest difference between beginners and experienced engineers isn't technical knowledge, it's systems thinking. Beginners think in terms of individual services. I'll use EC2 for compute, S3 for storage, and RDS for databases. Experienced engineers think in terms of systems. How do these components work together to deliver business value? What happens when one component fails? How does this scale with business growth? This is why you see certified candidates fail interviews. They know about services in isolation, but it can't design integrated solutions. The correct approach is to always build complete systems and never isolated services. So instead of just deploying an EC2 instance, build a complete web application with compute, storage, database, security, and monitoring. Instead of just setting up an S3 bucket, design a complete system with delivery, backup, and access controls. This forces you to understand how services work together and develop the systems thinking that separates professionals from hobbyists. Look, everything that you've been told about cloud careers is designed to keep you stuck, consuming more information instead of building the skills to get you hired. So stop following the advice that keeps you in preparation mode and start building the skills that actually get you hired. The cloud industry is growing faster than ever before, and we're looking at an expansion from $900 billion to over $5.5 trillion in the next decade. The opportunities are real, but you have to approach them with the right strategy and mindset from day one. As always, I'm rooting for you. Good luck.